Hello and welcome to today's video. This time we're taking another look through some more vintage first edition hardbacks that I've got in my collection. These all needed cleaning and making good, and that's exactly what we're going to be having a look at today. So sit back, relax, and let's get to it. Okay then, so we're picking up with the Anthony Powells. Now these were there was 12 books in this series, and this is as far as we got last time. And this is book 8, I believe. 7 or 8 in the series. And what we'll do, we'll use the toothbrush to get into the very base and top of the spine, and then use the thicker brush to do the edges. Bit of foxing on the top there. These ones I believe all came from pretty much this guy here, Barry Hollingsworth. He was buying them as they came out, so it was like an original owner collection. But inside, you know, I reckon these were bought, read once, and that was it. They were stored, you know. Sadly, like quite a bit of this run, the spines have got ever so slightly spine faded. But apart from that, I think they're in really, really nice condition. I had historically already wrapped these up in a plastic sleeve to protect them, so they don't look too bad. But it's a great series, this, and you know, it's a lot of money, this series, in first edition hardback. So I feel privileged to own them in hardback at all, to be honest, you know. But there we are. Yeah, very, very nice. I do like these. Let's pop that over there. This is the next one then, the Military Philosophers. Bit of a thicker one, this. That's it, same guy again. It's got a bit of pencil in there, but we'll get that in a minute. Now it's funny, I was pulling these books off the shelf today, and it's amazing. You can see where the books have been, and then there's like a little layer of dust in front of them. Not a good thing to see, really, but I can't remember the last time these were cleaned. It was probably when I got them, which is over a decade ago now, so I don't know. Yes, there was, I could see it in the light, there was a bit of dust on the boards as well. These later ones, thankfully, aren't mega money or anything like that, but I don't feel the desire, I'll get that bit of pencil out, I really don't feel the desire to upgrade these ones, even though they've got a name inside. I'm more than happy with what I've got, you know. There's a little bit of pencil inside there. I don't think 15 shillings or something like that, I don't know, but we'll get it out anyway, because it's from the bookshop as opposed to how the book was originally published. There we are. It's just a little bit, but rather it not be left in there. There we are. I think we had my favourite cover, which was Casanova's Chinese Restaurant last time. Now, it's funny, you often see this one just on its own in the middle of collections, because people put it face out and on their bookshelf, and then it's like, books do furnish a room. I'm certainly not arguing with that. This is book 10 in the series. Got a little mark again, so we'll get that. But the publishers were quite clever in that they kept these hardbacks in print for a long time, so that like the libraries could get them and places like that. They were cunning, that is for sure. I'm trying to get a book of a similar height. There we are, so I can rub off that 8 there. X8 it says. there, didn't it? Boards are clean. That's the wrapper designed by Broom Lynn, eh? I'm pretty sure it's the same designer for all 12 books. I think so, anyway. So that's Books Do Furnish a Room. And we've got, which is the final one? Got to do these in order, haven't we? Yes, this one next. So this is book 11, Temporary Kings. Yes, again, it's got, I can see straight off the bat, it's got a 212 over there, whatever that means. No other marks at all inside. In fact, you can almost, it almost smells new, which is quite nice. So, got that almost like new book smell. Book 11. Now the final one. Hearing Secret Harmonies, book 12. A little bit of spotting on the covers here. That rub actually does get it off. Very, very light, but noticeable. Did the trick. Lovely. So that's all the Anthony Pools. Now we've got 3 by Christopher Priest. I'll try and see if we got these in order. So this is 1981. I think this is a bit earlier. Yes, this is the next one. So A Dream of Wessex. This is the original hardback of this from Faber and Faber. 1977. Quite a slim little volume. I got these 3 off eBay, all in the same lot, and they were really cheap. I was really pleased. They were like, 12 quid for the 3. I thought, blimey, you couldn't even get them in paperback for that. So I wasn't going to complain. Looking at the jacket itself, a little bit, few little indentations, but nothing too much to worry about, really, in all honesty. I think I will give it a tiny polish. Since we're here, it's got a few little marks on it, which I'm hoping will just lift off. I think the best editions of Christopher Priest's book are the ones published by Pan in the late 70s, early 80s, and the current Glance Masterworks, which I think are fantastic. I do have a couple of those signed, actually, but there we are. That's pretty nice. So now we've got the affirmation. This is a little bit later. It was still Faber and Faber. Oh, that reminds me, this was in a double wrapper. Very unusual. Had 2 wrappers on it. I've forgotten about that. Little mark right in the groove there, but it's not coming out. Tiny bit of paper in there. This is pretty clean, actually. So you can see why they've done it, because this was the original one at $6.25. That was trimmed and then it was re-released at $6.95. So evidently this hardback was around for a little while on the shelf. Sold that well initially. I'll give this one a tiny white. It's pretty nice, to be honest. There we go. Okay, back to where we were. The Quiet Woman. Not one of his more famous ones. This is Bloomsbury. It came with the other 2. So I wasn't going to turn it down, of course. Nice condition, this one, by the look of it. Almost like a gift book. Bloomsbury do produce very nice books in their day. Heard a few groovy ones from them. 1990, there we are. Lovely. And once again, we'll give this one a little polish. There we are. Now the next one hasn't got a wrapper on at all, but it's the original British, I think is it the British or American printing of, it's the American printing, it's the first American printing of I, the Jury by Mickey Spillane. Pretty scarce stuff. Yeah, with this one, I'm just waiting to get a new, I found a company in America, the first edition facsimile company. They're in San Francisco, and they actually have got this book in first edition dust wrapper. They've got a facsimile dust wrapper, so all I need to do is get one of those organized, and then I can wrap it around this original key crime title, really, you know. Obviously it's an expensive book, this, even without a dust wrapper. It's a few pounds. Lots of dust coming off it. Look at this, wow. Loads of dust coming off it, up on the sides here. It's got one tiny sort of little mark up there, but I'm not going to get any sort of pen near this because, you know, it's a scarce old tome, this one. About 1947, that one. We seem to have made a bit of dust. Let me clear the decks there. Right, next is this one. So this is a particularly nice edition of Gulliver's Travels. Yeah, Wardlock. They did a few in this range. I think there's about 4 of them. I think they're really, really nice. I think inside, yeah, uniform with this volume. Verse of Journette and Alice in Wonderland. That's it. I think that's the one I'd really like to get hold of. But they've got these lovely plates in. And when you buy them, you have to make sure that all the plates are intact because there's a lot of them. As you can see, it's fantastic. Highly recommended, this series. I think it's just, all it's going to need is the brush off, really. Because inside I'd already done it when I got it. They don't go for mega money. You know, you could probably pick one of these up for about £20. Although I've seen them as high as 100 a pop, so definitely pays to shop around. Yes. Quite a bit of dust and dirt on that. Now this is another one I am hoping to get a reproduction dust jacket on a facsimile wrapper, except the company in the States that I was hoping to get one from do not have one. It's by Elizabeth Taylor, the author, rather than Elizabeth Taylor, the actress. She only wrote about 8 or 9 books, and she was really, really great for short stories. And out of all the ones that she wrote, this is my favourite. Yeah, it's really, really great. Yeah, in a summer season. The whole lot got re-released in about 10 years ago in lovely new paperback editions by Random House, or Vintage, like as a vintage classic. And I think she had a bit of a revival then, but I've always liked her. To find these in first edition hardback with dust wrappers, they're very, very expensive. I mean, they really, really are. But you do occasionally see them come up for sale, but they're always a few £100 a book, and that's more than I'd want to pay. But at least I've got my favourite of hers, which was that one in A Summer Season. Another very, very old book, possibly the oldest we're going to see today. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. This is from Wardlock again, and this is part of the Wardlock Prize Library. And I've got this one, and I've got this one, which is Ben-Hur. So this one in the Prize Library lists them up to number 54. This one here lists them up to number 39. The thing is, I'd love to collect these, but there's not that many that I would really, really want to get in this edition. There's definitely some, that's for certain. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. I remember struggling to find that one, and I wouldn't. This is 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. This is that one. But yeah, so we've got the Ben-Hur, which is there. Was there any more I wanted to get? I don't think there is. By Airship to the Tropics might be fun, because I like books with airships on. And probably the first one, Robinson Crusoe, might be good to get, but they don't tend to turn up very often. This was in such a delicate dust wrapper, I decided to protect it. So as you can see, look at the state of it, it's like fragmented. Whereas Ben-Hur, which might be a later printing of course, is much better, but here it is. And the good thing about these, they have always got illustrated boards, and the other problem with them though is that, like this one here for example, has probably got 4 different editions in itself with different boards on, or different illustrated boards, so it's a bit of a tricky one. But I do love early editions of these sorts of books, and I particularly like Jules Verne's. So and of all Jules Verne's books, this was my favourite. Interesting dust wrapper. I'd love a better copy of that. You can see that illustration on the spine there of the diver is probably super cool. But it's okay. So yes, the Wardlock Prize Library. I think they were called prize libraries because they were sort of given out as prizes at schools. You know, if a student did really well, they would be presented with a book to reward them for their efforts. You know, I think that's how it worked with these things. So yeah, quite nice. So that's that one. And then another one in the series that I got later was Ben-Hur here. This one I haven't got round to putting in a dust wrapper, although it probably needs it. So let's look at the wrapper first. Faded on the spine. As you would expect, these books are 100 years old now. But better than 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Yeah, look. So this was a Sunday school prize presented to Charles something or other in Christmas 1940. So that does sort of date this one. Later than I thought. But as I said, these got reprinted a lot. But the cover dust wrappers are so thin. I don't think they've survived very well. The boards, collecting them in boards is nice, but I think dust wrappers is the way to go. That's okay. Yeah, so quite a nice pair of those Wardlock ones. Next we start a run of PG Wodehouse. So getting near the end of this particular part of my collection. We've still got lots more hardbacks to get through though, but they're slightly more modern, not these sort of antiquarian ones. But we'll start on Wodehouse now. So I really liked Wodehouse, and I've got all his books in some form or other. You know, I have got them all. A lot of them were published by Penguin. I've got some in Pan, paperback, some by Foursquare, a few even earlier than that, published in the 30s. But I've just got 2 original first editions. Now these are lovely. They are in facsimile wrappers, but these are the first printings of the books, but with the beautiful facsimile dust wrappers. If anything, the dust wrappers look too good because they are so perfect, you know. But the book itself, P.G. Wodehouse was kept in hardback for a long time, so that the way the first editions are identified is by what books are advertised at the back here. So it would say, to identify this particular one, it would say A Gentleman of Leisure would be the final book by P.G. Wodehouse that was advertised, or it may be at the front here. They might have a list of them at the front. No, they don't in this one, but that would have been the way to do it. So all of mine have been checked, and ironically, because he's so prolific, or he was so prolific, you know, well over 100 books, you know, with various offshoots and stuff like that and compilations, it's really only the early ones that go for mega money. So something like this, first print from 1931, without the dust wrapper, probably only cost me 15 to 20 pounds. And I probably paid about 12 pounds or so for the dust wrapper. So it gives you a little idea that someone even like P.G. Wodehouse, you could, if you really liked him, you could try and track down a run of first editions and only expect to pay, you know, between 500 and £1,000 for his first ones, like the Pot Hunters and the first Jeeves book, are the really expensive ones. But apart from that, you know, you could do it really if you were happy with facsimile dust wrappers. This one, if this was an original wrapper around this one, you know, you'd be talking several £100, if not a bit more. So that's the thing to bear in mind. It's, you know, horses for courses, and you just have to, you know, draw the line somewhere. But that, for me, is, you know, a beautiful, nice, original Wodehouse. All right, it's in a facsimile wrapper, but who cares, you know? And look who did the cover illustration. Heath Robinson, no less. Let me see that there. The great artist, fantastic for all his machinery. So, yeah, that's really nice. And I've got one other like that, which is the first Uckridge book. Definitely not such a nice cover, sadly. I'm not sure if this one is earlier or not. We'll have a look. It looks a little bit earlier, doesn't it? Yeah, this one, inside it's got an inscription for 1924. But you can see the dust wrapper there is clearly marked. Facsimile dust jackets. And something like this. It's probably, if that was an original wrapper, would probably be £1,000 book. But this is the correct first edition. And that would have been the way that it would have been identified. So Leave It to Smith would have been the last book on the title page. So that's how they'd identify it, as being the true first edition of this one. So you have to do your research with Wodehouse if you want to pick them up in first edition. But if you do, all the information is out there. But as much as I am really pleased that I've got a couple of these originals, it's just too big a job to go and look to trying to collect him properly. It's just too big a job. There's too many of them, and I like too many other things. That's the problem. You do sometimes see collections turn up, you know, on eBay, and it's like, I don't know, 40 or 50 hardback Wodehouses, but when you look into it in detail, you find most of them are reprints, and you think, well, I'm not so fussed about having him in original reprint jacket, because I love these. I absolutely love them. And these are the Everyman hardback re-releases. And we've probably got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13 of these to go through. And I think they're absolutely beautiful. Really beautiful, beautiful books. Gorgeous to read. And this is, in all fact, this is the way to read P.G. Wodehouse today. I think these are better than the paperbacks. I think these are just the way. And the Jeeves books in particular, I love the Blanding series as well. But I just love his other stuff as well, and I find him so effortless to read. So these are all very, very nice copies. They've all been bought pretty much from brand new by me, so they're not going to take a massive amount of cleaning, because I bought these new. It's the only thing that's going to be on them is a little bit of dust. So we shall go through and just give them all the once over. Now with 2 left feet. Now some of them I did, although I bought them sort of brand new, some of them came from a dealer on ABE books. I got them for a £5 a pop, which I was very, very pleased about. But they weren't perfect. So like this one's got 3 like little dots along the top. Chances are this is one I didn't buy myself brand new, but it may also be first published in the Everyman 2009. So this is the original printing from 2009 when this was first put into this particular edition. They're all very, very similar style and artwork, and that's what makes them such a great series to collect. This is Wodehouse's first book. Enjoyable read. This or his early ones were like the old boys school network, if that makes sense. So they were set in public schools, and it's from an absolute complete and utter bygone era nowadays, but that's not to take anything away from them. They're still great. Everyman themselves didn't release them in published order. I think they felt to get the series established they had to release some of the real hits to keep the book selling, as it were, and then perhaps some of the ones which weren't perhaps as in demand or desirable to be read today, that would help fund those, if that makes sense. Of course, the other thing Wodehouse was famous for was his golfing stories, and they're really, really great. I don't really play golf. I play a bit of crazy golf with the kids, shall we say. When we go on holiday, we always try and find somewhere with a crazy golf course. But I'm no golfer, but I don't mind a golf story. There we are, Spring Fever. Big thick one, this actually. Yeah, he was very clever. He really was. He was a bit of an idiot during the war. He got sort of suckered in and used for propaganda. But he was hardly in a position to contest and put up a fight. So the Germans sort of used him in some of their broadcasts. He was in France at the time when France got overrun, and everyone said to him, look, you need to leave France, but he just didn't listen to them, and consequently was captured, put in like a safe jail, as it were, for prominent personalities, VIPs, that sort of thing. The Promenade. And unfortunately they used him for propaganda, the Germans, but he did in the end get his reputation back once the story was a bit more widely known, and he went on right into the late 1960s, which is very good for us because we've got loads more, and I haven't read them all. I reckon I've read about a third of all Wodehouse that there is. I'm pretty sure I've read all the Jeeves books, and I've read all the Blandings. The other stuff, patchy. But these editions are gorgeous. They really, really are very, very nice indeed. But as I said, they don't need a lot of work because these were bought from a collector who had a few, and then I request them for presents. If it's birthday present or something, I give people a little list. I say, can you get them from these? Because people say, oh, Jules, you're impossible to buy for. I said, no, I'm not. Here's a little list. and then they can take their pick, can't they? One thing I have noticed with these is when I, get the odd one, say from someone at Amazon, because of the nature of the jackets, them being very, very, although they're cardboard, they're very, very easily damaged. It doesn't take a lot to mark these. That I've occasionally had to send a few back because of the way that they've been sent out. They've just slipped around in like an Amazon envelope, and it's sort of ruined the book, and that's no good, is it? We don't want that. Do they not know? But these aren't too bad, actually. They're not too bad at all. A very light sprinkling, shall we say, of dust. And like, here's the we saw the first edition just now. Here's the Modern Everyman Classics edition. Now, I believe next time round, I think we're going to be doing the Judge Dredd graphic novels next week, I think, as I recall. So look out for those. They should be good. That'll be a good video. Smith Journalist. Yes, this one's got a little bit of wear on the back. Almost looks like a bit of a muddy mark, or a fingerprint, but just have a go. These particular books remind me very much of the book I'm reading at the moment, which is my first read ever of Haruki Murakami, who's a Japanese author, and I'm reading one called The Wind-Up Bird Chronicle, which is, some people, I mean, I am one of them, people do describe his writing as slightly surreal, but it's eminently readable, and I'm making sure I read a bit of it every single night, regardless of how sort of tired I am, Okay, well, that's all for the Everyman books. I have got one slightly larger book on P.G. Wodehouse, but I'm going to need to clear the deck slightly, so let me do that first. Right, last few books now, and this is one on, it's just on a P.G. Wodehouse. It was a Thames and Hudson book by Joseph Connolly, who himself became an author, but was also a big Wodehouse collector, and he sort of gives some of his highlights of Wodehouse's life and books and career. Yeah, it's a really entertaining sort of little illustrated, potted autobiography, really, a biography rather, of Wodehouse. And I got this one quite cheaply off eBay. It was one that is recommended on various websites as a Wodehouse book that you might want to sort of pick up, really, So I'll give it a polish here. Got a little bit of wear on it, but it was only a few pounds, so I do recommend this one. Joseph Connolly did a few books on collecting modern first editions, and for a long time they were, well, pretty much definitive, to be honest, of all the big names anyway, but yeah, I think he's still around. But yeah, Wodehouse is one of those ones he was a big fan of. That's done actually wonders on that, actually. I'll give the back cover a squirt as well. And then we'll move on to finishing off basically with, I've got a trio of John Wyndham early editions to have a look at. One of the authors I'm very keen on. But sadly, the firsts are rather expensive these days, and I sort of missed my chance of pulling them all together quite a while back. But there we are. I think that was definitely worth doing for that Wodehouse one, and I'm going to make sure I file this next to my Wodehouse books on the shelf. Then the last three, so we got these John Wyndhams. So I've got Dare the Trevis. This is the very first of those sorts of books. It's in a facsimile wrapper again, sort of his end of the world novels. I've actually had two copies of this through my hands of Triffids. This was the better one. There we are. 1951. Always a hard book to find. Look at this, it's got a little £65 in the front. I don't remember where I bought it from, and I think I probably paid about that for it years ago, you know, like 15, 20 years ago or more. Probably more, to be honest. I just don't remember, but definitely still one of my favourite books. But as I said, in a facsimile wrapper, because, well, in an original it would be rather a lot of money, and it's just so scarce, you know. Now, of course, after Triffids came the Kraken Wakes, and I do have that one. Once again, it's in a similar situation. Pretty dusty, this. I think it's been, well, it's waiting for its wrapper, basically. So, I personally think this one's a little harder to get than Triffids in a first edition, personally speaking. So, the company in the States who I use, the Facsimile Company, they have got the first of this as a wrapper, so I will be able to get one to cover up the boards here, and it is admittedly not the greatest of copies, but it is a copy at the same time. 1953, there we are. So not great, but not rubbish, shall we say. It's going to be all I can really afford. Yeah, it's a little bit cocked, but not too bad. It probably just needs sort of holding in place like that, and I will eventually do that once I get the dust wrapper over from the Facsimile firm. Then the last one is one that came to me in the last sort of year or so. It was from a viewer of my other channel called Paul Barnes, and this is the Science Fiction Book Club edition of the Kraken Wakes. I must get this into a protective sleeve. Now this is a little bit special, and I shall tell you why. Because, as you can see there, John Benyon Harris, it actually comes from John Wyndham's personal archive, if you can believe it. So rather special, this. The dust wrapper with the Science Fiction Book Club books, they're really delicate paper. So we'll get that out of the way first of all. Then I'm going to give it the brush. It shouldn't be too bad because I've only had this one about a year. But yes, and it came with this little form here for the science fiction news, for the book club itself, with the little write-up about the Kraken Wakes. So very cool, eh? And the postcard as well. I mean, it's the full Monty, isn't it? But yeah, to say that's come from Wyndham's own library is rather cool, and I have got some paperbacks from the same source, some of his famous books that were also from Wyndham's library, because he would have got sent author copies, of course. And yeah, there we are, absolutely fantastic. So that is it for today. That's 2 boxes of hardbacks. As I said, next week we're going to be doing Judge Dredd graphic novels, of which there's a lot of them. There's probably a good 50 plus, which we're all going to need a good clean and a polish. Then after that, I think we're then back to the next batch of vintage pan giants, so look out for them quite soon. Thanks very much for watching today. Do please hit that subscribe button if you've not already for regular vintage cleaning content, and I'll look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye.